Good morning. Oh, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here, and I have a lot to present, so I'm going to go very fast. But before I do that, I want to thank you for being here and also for hearing a little bit about where we work, our work that we do with immigrant families in Houston, Texas. I'm glad that Donald Trump is not present in this presentation. So let's start over. Okay. All right, so my primary goal is to share with you some of the data that we work with families, immigrant families. We focus on pre-adolescent girls, so in families. And let me give you the context. And this data is available, so you can find it in different sources like the Pew especially. But basically, Latinos or Hispanics, and we can have a whole conversation about why Latinos and why Hispanic. But for the sake of the argument and the time, let's talk about only for this presentation and this slide about Latinos. I will use it interchangeably because it's the data that we have available, how it's presented. Basically, Latinos, we know for a long, long time the Latino population is growing very fast. And it's a 50% growth. There are also 16% or 17%, depending on the data that you are seeing, is 70% of the population. And basically, right now, 1 out of 6 individuals is of Hispanic or Latino origin. And in children, you will see 1 out of 3 children is nationalists of Hispanic origin. If you go to certain places in Texas, you probably will not see that. You probably will see 1 out of 2 children is Hispanic. So Latino children, Latinos are comprised of different subgroups. The largest is the Mexican. So that's what a lot of the research has been focused on mostly on Mexican. This is also another graphic showing you how is the growth across different states. You can see that they are surprised even to me that in the north, the growth is going faster than sometime in the south. This is a little bit kind of difficult graph, but I like to use it. It's from the Pew Research Hispanic Center. Here, what it showed, what I like it, do we have a pointer here? Is the pointer? Oh, shoot, it's not. Okay, it's not. So basically, on your left, what I want you to see is that there are 60% of the Hispanics are born in, thank you. 60% are born in the United States, but 37% are born in another country, not in the United States. Out of the Mexican origin immigrants, you have 30% are born in another country they are born in Mexico. Okay, recently we have seen more and more immigration coming from Mexico, and one thing I just wanted to point out, in 2013 we had close to 12 million people immigrating. But more recently, I don't know if you have heard the news, especially in Texas where we have, like a master, takes control. We had a large immigrant. All of a sudden, we had children immigrating at the ages of 10 to 17 by themselves, coming from Central America, primarily coming to the United States. And it was because of the difficult conditions in the country. These are children. These are not somebody who come with a parent. A lot of them were children. So I just wanted to point out this data. These children still stay in the United States under kind of what is called refugee conditions. And it's a different talk, but I wanted to make you aware that this is happening in the United States. Okay, when we look at if I put the data with all the ethnic groups, I like to show you this one. On your left, you have the foreign-born and then the native-borns. And this is the population of age and gender distribution based on the taken from the Pew Hispanic Center. When we look at this, what was interesting is to see that Hispanics are actually very young population, especially if they are foreign-born. So you can see they're very young versus the one that they are born here. You see a more normal distribution compared to the white. So if we had the white population, we are the opposite. The white population start getting older, but you had also adult population. With the foreign born, you don't see that. You see a lot of them are young. So when we study our population, our study will show you it's very representative of the national data. This one is also, it shows, I want to show you a little bit about the poverty. The darker area shows those are states in which the Latinos are at higher risk for poverty. In Texas, we don't fare very well. There's other data that shows basically an immigrant, Latino immigrant, is about 30% living under the poverty level. So for a socio-ecological model, to put in perspective, if we talk about the food environment, we talk about the influences of the family. In our case, we have mothers who play a tremendous role in the Hispanic culture. We are now finally start collecting some data on fathers. Believe it or not, there's very few data on fathers, of Hispanic fathers, but it's still, but we are still investigating. We also have, you know, the influence of the schools that people had talked, the groceries, and I'm so very glad that we have somebody from media in marketing, because it's very influential, especially about immigrant population, and I will show you why. My specific research was looking at maternal acculturation, looking at adiposity, maternal body image, and I'm very interested in parent style. This is also a new aspect of what I'm looking at parenting. In childhood obesity, the Journal of Childhood Obesity came out recently with an article naming number one cause of bullying in the schools was due to weight-related teasing. So this is becoming an issue for our children who are at risk or overweight. I also wanted to share with you this model. This is an article that was published in 2009, and basically talks about immigration. Look at it slightly different. Or maybe we all think about it, but you put it into perspective. Let's talk about selective acculturation. Not everyone, in the research, will look at acculturation very linear. So you are right here, and things start, I start getting accustomed to things in the host culture, but also you retain maybe some of your culture, and then as you get progress in years, you become more and more acculturated. Well, there are other research that start showing, well, it's not quite that way, especially about food. You can see people who have been here for a long, long time. I'm sorry, I'm talking about immigrants who have been here for a long time, and they retain a lot of the traditionals that they come from years and years. And then you have recent arrivals who immediately acculturate into the new culture, especially the food that we are going to start seeing. So I want you just to keep that in mind in terms of the theoretical model. So saying that, what I start looking is, okay, so there might be parts in every culture in terms of eating patterns, food preparation, food home environment, cultural perceptions about weight. I forgot to mention to you, my background is in psychology, so I tend to see perspectives, more global perspective in terms of some psychological measures. But I wanted to start seeing what is protected. What are the things, at the same time that you have heard about the Hispanic paradox? So there might be something in the culture, not everything is bad, that might be protecting these families. But also there are other behaviors or beliefs or practices that put them at risk. So we know from the data that acculturation, as people become more acculturated, they become more likely to increase the risk of obesity. There is an article by Isi that it was published recently in 2015, and we start also showing in Batis too. I forgot to include it. But basically what they included, I like it because it says that there's a study that shows that participants who moved to the United States when they were 14 years of age, and these are primarily Mexican immigrants, or younger, were more likely to be obese than those who moved to the United States at older ages. So keep that in mind when we talk about obesity. In terms of acculturation, also in terms of acculturation, even though we had a large group of immigrants from Mexico, there are a few studies that have been looking at the patterns across different degrees of acculturation. The most significant has been this group by Batis, and this article just came up in, I cannot see the year, 2011, And basically, there was the national, they used the Haynes data, and also they used data from Mexico. This is the summary. They basically found that high acculturation was related in children and adults, was related with more processed food, salty snacks, fried and fast food. Drinking also, there were the sweeter beverages that were increased and also added sugar. They eat more low-fat meat, dairy, fish, and fiber. But low acculturation has something very positive. They saw that, or they found that they were reporting at least more fruits and vegetables consumption. They eat less calories, saturated fat, and sugar. And also they report to have more access to fruit and vegetables in their home country. So this is the more data about the article, so you can see the differences. So on your left, you have the Mexican population, the one is dark, and then you have the Mexican-American that they are immigrating, and then the next bar is the Mexican-Americans who are born here, and finally you have the non-white population, non-Hispanic white population. So you can see several kind of items, food. It was very surprising, not surprising, but it was interesting to me that tortilla was always higher among Mexican. All right, so now let's talk about the other aspect. Understanding my immigrants, we need to also understand where they're coming from. The picture on your left is a recent picture from the school in Mexico. It's a public school. This mother takes upon herself, it's not a structure she does, it's part of the school, it's what she sells her food. She brings the food and the children buy it from her. And there is a menu, but it's very informal. People, I was very surprised, there is no regulation by the school, but that's not uncommon. That's a typical school. This is in Mexico, in Cuernavaca, southern Mexico City. We also had a lot of the farmer markets. In Mexico, for instance, typically once a week you have the flea market coming to your neighborhood. You also have some places in which the market, the food that is not being sold, they put in this big container and people can go ahead and pick it up, mostly vegetables and fruits. And also you have this informal ways to see. The last one, to buy this kind of trucks or mini vans of they sell food that you still see it now, at least you see it in Texas. This is what people have, typical approaches buying food. When they come, the immigrants, when they come in the United States, now they have all the choices available. And I also I had been very interested about the media. For instance, in Mexico, in part of Mexico, the most Kentucky Fried Chicken, the McDonald's are in a very expensive areas in the city. And it also costs more money. So I look at how many McDonald's there are in Mexico. This is from the Google. There are about 380 McDonald's. If I break it down by area, you will see that it's in very expensive neighborhoods, okay? Now, think about an immigrant living in a place where McDonald's is almost like something like luxurious, something that you will eat maybe once in a while because of the cost, but because where it is located. Then you come to the United States, and then you look at how many McDonald's we have. We have 14,350 McDonald's, almost one in every corner. Now, not only it's available, it's accessible to you, and it's cheaper. We also see immigrants, and also in Mexico, you still see also food deserts. So as they live in neighborhoods in which there is a lot of poverty, the accessibility of healthy and also fresh fruits and vegetables is diminished, as we know. So also, what about the family's meal? We work with the immigrants, allow the immigrants to relate on the school for food, the cafeteria, the breakfast, the lunch, and this is not new, you probably see the same thing. They also relate neighbors or somebody who serves as a babysitter, especially the mother's working. So the babysitter is in charge also feeding the child. Okay? And sometimes it could be the neighbor, sometimes it's a relative, but not all the time. Typically it's a neighbor. And also, one of the main complaints that we start hearing from came from some of the studies that we had done from the girls, is that the parents in themselves, use the cell phone all the time when they are eating. So I'm so glad also they mentioned at the mealtime. I'm so glad that you mentioned my thesis, it was on mealtime, observing family interactions. So I agree with you. That's one of the best things. And think about even your family. Think about the smell of the food when you go and somebody's cooking, and just the smell. My mother was a very nice cook, by the way. I'm not. My husband thinks I'm fake Mexican because I cannot cook good Mexican food. But it's okay. I can do other things like cleaning. But it's right. It's very important to be able to, family time is something very important. And also cooking meals at home. When you are low income, when you have 2 jobs that they pay the minimum wage, picking up the children, going home, you don't have a lot of time for cooking. And also the family support. This is one of the major changes tremendous changes in the Hispanic immigrant population. In Mexico, if you work, you have your grandmother, you have your aunt, you have your cousin, everyone comes and pitch in and take care of the children. Picking up, taking home. Here they disappear. A lot of the immigrants come alone. So you will see then that the family support that exists in the place is disappearing. So then on top of that, also the media. So mothers have to make all these decisions about what does gluten mean. Typically, we talk to immigrant mothers, says, what is this? I don't understand the food label, I understand. And then they feel guilty because they feel like, okay, the pressure means my child has to lose weight, but I don't know what to do. So I just put this one to represent all the decisions that a mother has to make. And this is not only about, doesn't apply only to immigrants, apply to every mother. Constantly, we have to make decisions about what we serve in the home. Then we had asked also, remember I mentioned to you, I'm very interested in how mothers transmit. My model is mothers and daughters. So how they transmit these values to one child to another. Obviously it's through food, but also it's how you perceive yourself. So we ask questions about mothers, how they perceive your child's weight and what they say. So the first one on the top, it means that my child has the body of his father because it's genetics. On that one, the fluffy, I could not understand what it means. Does anyone know what it means, fluffy? Well, I will tell you in a second. So fluffy. So when they tell me fluffy, I had never heard it. And they went rounded, and it's big bone. My daughter can never be skinny because she's big bone. In my family, we are all big bones. And then gordita, that one you probably have heard fatty. My sister is still 50 years of age, and we still call her, she's skinny now. Well, now she gained weight. But we used to call her gordita. Because when she was 5 years old, she was gordita. So when she was a teenager, we called her gordita, and it was like a term of endearment. And my children, when they were growing up, I said, what did you call my aunt gordita? She's not fat. I said, that's how I show my love. All right, and then plum. So I figured out what is it that the mother is transmitted. What is the word, the fluffy? So here is the media. There is this comedian that is very famous in the Hispanic culture. His name is Gabriel Iglesias. And he instituted these different levels of obesity, of fat. And one, he's fluffy. Fluffy is the sense of being just fluffy, okay. Being lovable, being proportioned, but you are proportionally big across all parts of your body. And it's not bad, Once that you pass certain stage, just too much. But you can be fluffy and still be cute. Okay, we also test the beliefs of the parents. So this one, because of the time, I'm not going to go into detail, except the one that I wanted to mention is related to the children. We often hear from the parents, mothers and daughters, that my child is when the child is obese, my child is going to grow out. The child doesn't have to be on diet. My husband said they cannot be because they're going to stunt their growth, or they just need to be, it's part of their development. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to tell you, so what we have done with all this data, we have done programs we have been very lucky for the past 10 years, we have been doing programs that we bring families to the University of Houston for 4 weeks. We start in the summer, and I will tell you why. So we bring the children from 9 to 3, and then parents must come to a session for 2 hours every week with a dietitian, exercise, physiologist, and a counseling. We are part of the counseling program, so we will rely a lot on the behavioral component to make a difference. So our elements in the program, we had an integrated approach. We do nutrition, counseling, and exercise. We involve the whole, like I said, the mother and the child, but also the family can come to different events, including the fathers. And now we are also including fathers in some of the sessions. Fathers play a very important role in the decisions about food and exercise in the house, believe it or not. So, and then we also include a lot of issues about the culture. So I will tell you also, the other aspect that we know in the research is that summer is a particular sensitive issue for any child, period. Doesn't matter if they're immigrant or not. We have now data showing that during the summer, children, especially preschoolers, tend to gain weight because there is not involved in a lot of, and this is particularly affected immigrant, African American, and Hispanic children, and especially immigrants because when we look at our data, we ask them, what do you typically do in the summer? And these children, 60% in about 500 children unreported doing 1 week or some kind of church-related activity during the summer. So what does it mean? The children are most of the time at home. Sometimes supervised, sometimes the older siblings supervise them. So there is not data that show there is certain periods in the child's life, especially in the summer, that put them at higher risk for obesity. So I will now tell you about the families that we see. This is a typical family. We work only with overweight and obese children. The mother does not have to be overweight and obese. And I used this picture on purpose because you notice the mother is skinny. And sometimes in the family, there might be a skinny mother, a skinny father, a skinny sibling, and one child who is overweight. That's one configuration. So I want you to expand your view about family obesity, although there are families in which every member is obese. But there are also families in which you don't see that. So this is the kind of family that we typically see. This is the different demographic characteristics. Most of our families, they are 85% they are Hispanics. Most of the mothers are born in Mexico, Central America, but most of the children are born here in the United States. Okay? They are low income, mothers have low levels of education, and the average family size is about 5. This is some of the highlights that we have found. They consume certain items like coffee. The girls are consuming coffee at least 3 times a week. The mothers, 30%. 5 fried food. This is the typical that you will see in somebody who is overweight, eat a lot of fried food. They reported consuming 1 serving of fruit and also 1 serving of vegetables at least 3 times a week. This is what they report. What I was surprised is about eating out. They do eat out. Doesn't mean that they do in expensive places, but they try to save, like they go for McDonald's or places in which you can have 1 hamburger for $1. I'm not presenting here data, but sometimes we ask them to bring the receipt so we know how much they really are spending, and it's a tremendous amount of money that they're spending in food and also eating out. So one of the things that we start doing, the other thing that mothers are telling us, especially immigrant mothers are telling us, look, we know that we are not supposed to eat fat. We know that we're supposed to be this and that. But I want you to show me how to do it. Don't just tell me, show me. So we start a program with chefs and a nutrition educator. Chefs are excellent for the smell of the food. They're excellent for combinations, substitution, but they're not very good sometimes about the nutritious aspects of the food. So that's why we had a nutrition educator with them. So we instituted programs in which we teach mothers and daughters how to cook and prepare meals and giving different seasoning, from using, for instance, cauliflower for the mashed potato, to using avocado instead of mayo for a lot of the dishes. So this is some of the things that I will show you. We also give in recipe books, but unlike other places, we ask the mother to bring their favorite recipe. We modify with the dietitian, and it goes back to them, and then we have some pamphlets or recipes for them. So you can see they prepare, we try to invite, they can invite the grandmother, whoever is involved in the cooking at home, we ask them to come. We also go to grocery shopping tours. These are very popular. We can keep up with them to try to teach it about the products. And they can repeat as many times. They can go, we do it in small groups. You see even the father there being interested because they want to know more about products. This one is about some of my data that I found in terms of maternal acculturation. We know maternal acculturation and child acculturation will affect the views about what they prefer to be attractive. So as children become more acculturated, they prefer figures that are thinner. It's the same thing as the mother. If you are a daughter, the mother acculturation will affect your perceptions of your daughter's selections of the thinner, but not in terms of the boys. Mothers want the boys to eat more because represent strength, muscles, but not for the girls. Okay, so here is the figures that mothers tend to tell us. They prefer number 3. By the way, they are not measures for Hispanics. So I will invite anyone who is a researcher to start developing. There are some for African Americans for figures that represent African American, but not for Hispanics. All right, so we also start doing after-school programs in which we use technology to teach them about nutrition in a fun way, and a lot of them taste food for the first time. We are surprised how many children do not have a variety of diet. So we introduce them to different ways of preparing fruits and vegetables dishes. And we had also the recipes available. We had the parents coming too. We tried to emphasize on our programs that not only the children had to come, but also the parents. And when did they come? Since they are very busy. We do classes on Saturdays. We do classes after school. Anytime that the parents can come, we do it. I will skip this one because this is just what I wanted to tell you. Things that we ask the parents, how can we promote healthy eating? So it's the typical thing that they tell us. One thing, this is what I want to focus more. I want you to think when you are considering working with Hispanics, especially if they are immigrants, to look at where they come from. If you don't have a measure of acculturation, look at the language. How many years they have been here? Where did they come from? If they're coming from the north part of Mexico, the diet is very different than from the south. So there are different things that you are going to emphasize. Literacy level. Okay, we have mothers who immigrants who come here with 1 or 2 years of education. So it's important that your pamphlets, your information is a way that's more visual. Look at also the family structure. Is the mother's working? Who's doing then the cooking? Allow your idea to have a nice cooking on Sunday. That's a wonderful opportunity for the mother to be together. Traditional values. And also, right now, when I'm going is trying to empower girls who participate in our programs to be the agents of change in the family, but also in the community. So right now, the next level is to trying to train mothers and daughters who participate in our program, who have been very successful in changing their habits, to be part of the program and teach other mothers and other youth to do the same thing. Thank you so much.